I'm going to record it to the cloud. Okay. So we have started whether we were ready or not. And this is Odette de Maio on the screen here. And that's what you're going by for today. Um, I think
Hi, everyone.
you're Odette Bianchini.
Bianchini, that's my Facebook name, which is my husband's
Yeah.
last name. Uh, but yeah, so that Maio is my proper name.
Odette and I have known each other for 20 years virtually, but this is the first time we've spoken eyeball to eyeball, so to speak, across the screen, across the ocean. And you're currently in Milan, is that correct?
Yes, I do. I do live in Milan. As for now, I kind of share my time between Tuscany and Lombardy, which are two regions in this country. So I divide my time going to Tuscany as well for personal reason and work reasons. But I'm based in Milan, yes.
All right. And I think just a few days ago, you completed a workshop in Turin. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was a very large sound healing session that I held there with a sound bath with a lot of people that are Reiki practitioner. So they meet every year before Christmas. The large community of Reiki practitioner meet there to exchange Reiki to each other. And while I do my playing live. So it's a special event they have in Turin every day. Sorry, every year before Christmas. It was beautiful.
Oh, lovely. Yeah. I was going to have you talk a little bit about Reiki, about astrology, and about sound healing, which are your focuses these days.
Hmm.
When I connected to you first, we were connected through a mutual friend, Jennifer Carey, who I'll mention briefly, that I had met in my professional capacity as a technical writer up in Denmark, where I was living at the time. And I came down to interview with her in 2002 in September in Milan, where you are as well. But I didn't meet you then. She set up something called Hemingway's Code, and I think the idea of just living our lives with intensity and with purpose was something behind why she brought those people together on this social media group. It was on a platform called Orkut that disappeared soon after. But during that time, all these groups spun up all over the place, and I think it was very popular in Brazil, as it turns out. Orkut was. I don't know if
Oh,
you
do
knew
you
that.
know that?
Most of its users were Brazilian based, largely in Portuguese as a result. But in any case, I've been following your work ever since, and I think I was hooked by Childish Boudity of all things. Do you remember
Wow.
that song?
Wow.
And when did you write that? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, that song, because I used to be, I used to have a professional musician career
Hmm.
until early 2000s. And I kept doing my songwriting work. And I also met an American friend named Ben Slavin, with whom I founded The March, which was a very lo-fi independent folk singing duo. And we also had the chance to play in the States together. And Childish Boudity was mm, written in that period. I think it was 2003. And I brought that song over to the United States, but it just it just remained as a very independent project. And we didn't go very far. It was before the social media came out. So we didn't have much visibility. It was kind of difficult because it was the transition period between the major publishing companies such as Universal or whatever, and the completely independent YouTubers and online music platforms. And it was right in between. So it was neither like you could not really benefit from the major companies' funds anymore. And at the same time, we were not ready to publish ourselves and to promote ourselves otherwise. So that was a very strange period to live and produce music on your own.
And then you went on to soon right after that. Is that correct?
Now, the SUNY was my initial chapter. Actually,
Okay.
it was in mid 90s, and I was working with Polygram back then,
Okay.
one of the biggest publishing record companies. So I had my visibility time when I was 23, 24, and we toured all over Italy. We had videos out, LPs and CDs out. So we had a lot of fun of doing that. But then 99 hit, that big crisis over the music industry. And that led to that
Right.
period I was talking to you about, where the major companies really didn't know what to do and the CDs
Right.
would not sell anymore that much.
That was the Napster window, right? When everybody
Yes,
got their music for free by hacking
yes.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
So it
really,
was the music revolution back then, basically. Started in 99, 2000. So all the artists could not really make it the way they used to. And another chapter in music was opening up. And then soon, disappeared. And I founded the March. I had a few collaborations with international European artists.
I
And
saw that, right?
you
Perrault
remember
and Schiller.
Schiller, part of Stellar, which are quite big names in Europe.
Yep.
Um, and also a friend based in Paris, we had this project called Lorby. To me, is one of the most sophisticated electronic music project I ever collaborated with, but no much visibility, but a very good music. And then after that, I founded Miso with
Right.
Jan de Blok from Belgium. So I went international, kind of, with, trying to do several projects, different styles, me singing and writing lyrics for every of these projects, but never did quite accomplished a big success like it was with Soon in the mid 90s. But at the same time, I was freer to do whatever I wanted to and feel like. So I was just exploring.
And the explorations are really atmospheric, I find
Yeah.
interesting to watch. Demons, for instance, the
Oh, wow.
one you mashed up with the 1963 horror film, or
Yes.
right? Was that? I have forgotten the title of which tune that was off the Miss O collection, but there's a whole lot
Oh,
out there to be found. And I recommend people do go out and find it. And I've been, of course, amplifying your signal through the noise as best I can, sharing a lot of those clips with people.
I
Just
know you did a great job to
no.
help me.
And then Mandala Voices came up, right? Was that right after Miss O? Um,
Right after Miso, right?
Return
Yeah,
to a Planet, right?
just be few months before the pandemic, Mandala Voices, they were born before I joined. It was basically a sound healer, female musician group of of people that wanted to bring sound healing more to visibility. And they started to do that through live concerts where they would build mandala landscapes of sound, basically. It's like the mandala concept, but you build up something that is totally improvised and not permanent, you know?
Okay.
So that was a very interesting concept. Like you would make up melodies and impro music that would not be recorded, they would not, and they would just be, living in that instance that you would hear them. And then it would be gone, like the mandala that the Tibetan monks
Right.
built,
Okay.
that they blow the sand away and the mandala after it's built, it's finished and it disappears. So that was the concept. It was very interesting concept, and Laura Schmidt was the founder of this project. And then the four of us, we organized a sound healing concert here in Milan. It was a huge success. And then we recorded some videos. And one of the videos you found it, and it was so nice for you to contribute to this project, because we were really penniless. We didn't have any funds and any money, but we wanted the sound healing word to start spreading, because I think in the United States you have more awareness of what sound healing is, while in Italy still needs to be, people need to be aware of what it is. So either videos or concerts or any kind of show would just help that visibility to grow up.
Well,
And
great.
so the
Yeah.
Mandala Voices period was really nice and also taught me how to move my personal perspective on music. So I basically had this inner click, inner shift that happened in 2018 when I just published my last pop music EP, which was called Infinity Pool. And after that little demo that came out, I just realized that I needed to do something else with my voice and with my music.
And
So,
you've done that. So talk to me more about sound healing and how that
Mhm.
actually manifests. Because I actually don't know a lot about it. You say we in America know more about it, but me,
No, don't worry. I mean, it's just a niche thing, right? It's still something that needs more visibility. But
yeah,
uh,
that's cool.
what what I found out back then is that I could use my voice as a therapeutical instrument for people. So not just singing for entertaining,
Mhm.
right? To entertain people, but to to use my personal frequencies in order for people to benefit and relax and maybe even heal themselves through the frequencies, which is a concept that's very old. I mean, humanity used shamanic drums, used singing prayers, they used to use music for every transcendental purpose. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So basically, it's something that as old as humanity that was kind of recovered in the last decades. And so I approached that style and approached sound healing to do something else with my voice and to put it more on service for people and less entertaining and less ego-oriented purposes, right? So that's what happened. And so I enrolled to a singing therapy course, which they teach you how to use your voice to do basically energy treatments through your voice. And after that, I started to learn Tibetan singing bowls playing, and other free vibrational instruments playing.
Now,
So
just yesterday, you were showing the difference between a professional and a traditional singing bowl. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
yeah, because singing bowls is another instrument that were there for centuries, but they were focused mostly in Southeast Asia and India, Tibet, Nepal, those countries. The singing bowls, basically, they were used even for eating bowls, they used them for eating bowls and other more uh, precious ones. They were used for playing, maybe for praying, chanting mantras and
Mhm.
etc. And so there are different kinds of singing bowls. The ones that you can use for eating, which are lower quality. Other ones, as soon as they started to build up and became bigger, even in the Western world, of course, those countries produced massively touristic bowls, we call it, because you can go to any market in Nepal, India, or Tibet and find $5 little singing bowls, and they're all printed and colorful. They're kind of objects that you would put on a shelf, and they look very beautiful, but they don't have the proper therapeutical purpose that the other art crafts bowls have, right? So the quality is different. The traditional singing bowls is built with 7 different kind of metals, including silver and gold and
Mm.
other precious metals. And the combination of these metals create a unique sound. And basically what you need to pay attention to is the frequency and the body of the sound that comes out from the bowl when you hit it with a mallet. So when you hit it, you can hear like waves of vibrational sound with a lot of harmonics, which is a term, technical term, I understand, but it's like you can hear there's a lot of little sounds that build up a big
That's right.
note, right?
That's right.
So these little waves of sound, they have different kind of pitches and notes, styles. They can have a very reharmonizing effect on your body. And the cells of your body kind of through the law of resonance, they kind of adjust themselves to calm down and relax and match that vibrational frequency. So that's how it works. So the difference between a I call it a touristic singing balls because it's cheap one, and a very good one is basically the power and the intensity of these frequencies. I
Well,
hope
that's
it's clear.
yeah, that's pretty clear. And I remember seeing demonstrations of how water resonates in a bowl when struck, and the different tones that as it sets
Yeah.
the patterns that occur, like snowflakes, practically. Um, as I was looking back at your solo album that came out, Infinity Pool, I remember you had one in particular called Non-Existence.
All
A
right.
lot of your thinking seems to be spinning out of sort of the Buddhist traditions, if I'm not mistaken, childish Buddhity, then non-existence.
Uh-huh.
And the way in which you were talking about mandala voices initially was improvisational, and it's here now, and that's it. It's not recorded. But you did record a few things to get them out there, and that was really a nice opportunity for me. How it came about, I think I told you at the time. I was at a rest stop on my way back from Deep River, where I had been performing with the Williamsburg Field Music. My background, as you mentioned, drumming, being shamanistic and such, was in a fife and drum corps when I was a kid in Colonial Williamsburg. And it is something about this that when I fall in, now I'm a fifer, so I'm the one making all the shrill sounds with these little wooden flutes, right? A very pretty one here in a Coca-Cola wood. Can't get these anymore. They stopped
Mm,
rare wood, so they're protecting it so you don't run out of the trees that produce it. But I've also have an
all right.
blackwood one here that was made for our 50th anniversary in 2008. But when I fall in with the guys and we start playing, as I did just December 7th for the Williamsburg Community Christmas Parade, what I find is my individuality just drops away. And it is incredibly healing to have that moment when I get together with guys I've known since I was 11, when I joined the Corps. And actually, the drum major I've known since I was like 4. And he was my generation sergeant major. And we just step off. It's like I'm no longer me. I'm something, an element within the greater whole. And I think that's what I find really healing about the kind of music I do, even though it's left me somewhat deaf. There's nothing quiet about fifing and drumming. My poor wife was introduced to it in 2008 when we got together for our 50th anniversary, and there must have been two or three hundred of us all crammed within our main room, and we took up a tune just randomly, and suddenly everybody was playing, and
Wow.
that was, if you didn't have ear protection, that was really dangerous. Anyhow, getting back to the sound healing events that you have going on. You did one in Turin recently. You've got others coming up in January. Is that right? Two back to back?
Yeah, yeah, because actually, yes, after I trained myself to, to use my singing in a certain way and to play some instruments that belong to the sound healing world, I started to do the sound healing session. They are called sound baths, basically.
Right.
So where you have the opportunity to immerse yourself not in water, but in the power of the sound, in the sound fully. So you lay down on a mattress and you just relax and let your body and mind absorb all the frequencies, the healing, therapeutical healing frequencies. And I started to promote myself with the sound baths all over the places, but mainly in Milan, where I'm based, of course. But then I started to join the Reiki school where my husband works, and mm, they have schools everywhere in Italy. So I basically follow my husband when he works at some other places like Tuscany or Rome or Verona. And then I also go to other teachers, schools, cities. So I'm enjoying myself doing a little bit of travel, which I like, and
Yeah.
bringing all my instruments with me. And it's a big weight to carry all around. And so I do keep my sessions all over the places. And early January, I will be in Tuscany again. So I'm happy about this kind of job that I built myself with. And I have more free time than I used to because I used to work as a direct marketing account manager. And then I quit my job last year. And now I'm focusing on these holistic
Yeah.
activities.
Well, that's what a lot of people are doing these days, it seems. We're transitioning to what really lights us up inside, and that's what I
Yeah.
like to talk about in general. You also are mixing this with astrology and Reiki, correct?
Yes,
So maybe we can
exactly.
talk about those two fields a little bit because I know precious little.
Don't worry about that. Well, astrology is quite known as a millenarian discipline, and there's not much to add about what people know about astrology. But of course, I do my private individual consultancies with reading the your birth astro chart and the
Okay.
transits. Basically, this is what I'm focused on, and I like also 2 or 3 times a year to teach people they don't know anything about astrology and introduce them to this
Mhm.
complex discipline because there's a lot of technical aspects to it to learn before you can start understand a little bit of what you can do on your own with astrology, right? So I like to have these little seminars, brief seminars where I do some introduction to astrology and I talk about the 4 elements, fire, earth, air, and water, which are the basic elements of our life, but which astrology symbolized as archetypal forces that move inside of us. So
Yeah, the archetypes, right.
the archetype.
And, there are like four things when it comes to Myers-Briggs and the Jungian thought about
Yeah.
introvert, extrovert. I did one of
Yeah.
those recently. I came out shockingly an INFP, and I'm not usually that. So I I'm really close to the E and I line, but I apparently am gravitated to the I in the recent years, more so than the E side of things, than extroversion and introversion.
Mm,
Interestingly, astrology has several different varieties, correct? I think there's
yeah.
Chinese astrology as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Chinese
And you've
astrology.
traveled in the East a fair amount, haven't you?
Yeah, well, the West, I've been traveling through the East a lot, but I don't know much about Eastern astrology. It's very different.
Mm.
Of course, Chinese astrology we hear about because nowadays there are many Chinese communities all over the places. So you kind of know about, maybe the year of the pig, the year of the snake, and stuff like
Snake
that.
this one, right?
I think it's
And
snake.
we're going into the year of the horse. At least that's what Patti Smith
And
told
February, well, the first new moon in yeah,
in
in
February.
January, February, they will change the
It's my
year
birth month,
and the
actually,
sign.
February 4th.
Yeah, but it's kind of different. Also, the Vedic Indian astrology is so different from the Western one. So I'm focused on the Western ones,
Good.
which of course have a lot of variety, as you were saying as well, because
Right.
there's karmic astrology, traditional astrology, evolutive astrology, or whatever. So
No.
humanistic, psychological. So there are many, many kind of different. streams, astrogenealogy, I think it's called in American. But
Really?
this is also something that I study recently, and it's so fascinating, which you basically can understand a lot more of all of your family. I mean, a large
Oh,
family system
right.
based on your astrology birth chart, the individual birth chart. So there's a lot to study out there, and I keep on studying and train myself. I really like this discipline.
That's fascinating. My family, I've often looked at astrology with that because we are all four of us represented air, that'd be me, um,
Hmm.
water, my sister, fire, my mother, and
Oh,
earth, my father. So my earth, the earth and fire, yeah, earth and fire together can make a good solid brick.
oh yeah,
A good foundation stone my parents were for my sister and I, who were water
good.
and air respectively. But my rising sign actually Sagittarius, which is a fire sign.
Oh, fire.
So
Yeah.
fire and air together, it's kind of volatile.
No, they work well together as elements. They're really
Yeah.
more outgoing. They need to socialize. They need to talk. They need to um, have projects, intellectual projects to be involved in usually. So,
And this is one of them, actually.
yeah, I understand that.
Having a conversation with somebody who's involved in some of these esoteric disciplines, that's what I'll call them. I don't know if that's fair, but I find it fascinating. I'm curious all the time about these things. I'm highly skeptical at the same time.
All
I
right.
stand outside of myself and say, well, that sounds really good, but maybe you want to check that.
That makes
And
sense. That makes
it
sense.
is
It's good to be skeptical.
but it can also lead to not ever having a stable foundation upon which to build
Mm,
a practice or a discipline, such as what you're doing. Friend
mm,
Jennifer was starting a practice in neurolinguistic programming. Are you familiar
mm.
with that?
Yeah.
I'm not, but I talked to her about it right about the time I was hiring a coach to do physical stuff with me because I needed to get my body back in tune because I was always twisted around here in the bunker, as I call this place behind me here. Um, as I was working during the pandemic, because we were
All
all
right.
isolated, right? We all, hunkered down, and I kind of loved it. Um, and I kind of loved that suddenly I found myself reaching out through this means and having
Mm.
conversations with people, and other people started having conversations and moving their face-to-face work, a lot of musicians,
Oh
on
yeah.
live streams. Right.
Right.
My friend David Gantz, who I had on as a guest here, and I'll share that with you sometime maybe. He started playing for his audiences on a live stream every day. And he said it really
Wow.
transformed his practice because he played for an hour for like whoever would show up. And he's got like, I don't know how many there are in this group, maybe 20, 30 people that he considers his green room crew who show up at like every live stream and they're chatting back
Wow.
and forth with each other. They formed a little virtual community.
Wow, nice.
It is nice. And the other virtual communities I've stumbled into, I had Jay Blakesberg on not long back, who is a photographer, and he had a thing called Photos with Stories, where he would have other photographers come on and talk about their work, amplifying the signal through the noise. And that was very inspiring to me because I could take somebody like you, amplify your signal through the noise, because that's really what Vipers do, after all. The whole idea of this instrument is to cut through the noise. It's developed in Switzerland. You were,
No.
yeah, not far from where you are. The Swiss, after all, were mercenaries and dangerous military characters, apparently. I had a guy who's based in Switzerland and makes wooden flutes with keys where these don't have keys. He also makes fifes. He makes 10-hole fifes for the old guard, our fife and drum corps of the U.S. Army. This is a ceremonial group. I know a lot of people from that because of my background in fifing and drumming. But in any case, Skip was saying that the Swiss were such ruthless militias that they would use fifes and drums after the invention of gunpowder. For that, they'd use flags, and you couldn't see the flags through the smoke and the fire. So fifes and drums became their way of signaling places they were approaching to either get out of the way or get killed.
Wow.
They were
Oh,
that.
I see.
I didn't know that before, but I got Skip on, had a conversation over Zoom or over Substack, and he's doing quite a few things now. He had a album called Empty Pockets, where he did sort of modern versions of fifing and drumming, or fifing and flute playing and traditional music of that type.
Nice.
And when
Okay.
he got his own podcast going, as he started having problems with arthritis in the fingers and such, he decided to branch out and transmit more knowledge via the voice. His first guest was Ian Anderson of Jethro Tull. So he really scored one there. I haven't had a
Wow.
lot of really famous people on. I try to just have one conversation at a time with anybody. And getting you on here is, after all this time knowing you, is a real gift to me. I'd like to talk a little bit about Reiki, and
Yeah.
we haven't really touched on that one yet. We've touched on
No.
astrology, sound
Yeah.
healing, but tell me more about that. You did some distance healing for my father, actually. He was suffering from cancer, and
Mm,
later survived that and was suffering from all kinds of lung issues. But I think,
yeah.
yeah, I believe it may have helped him.
Thank you. Well, Reiki is something that was born in Japan
Mhm.
from Master Uzui after some deep meditation that he was having every day on his own on a mountain in Japan.
Uh-huh.
And he basically channeled, or whatever you want to say, you want to call it, he channeled this technique, which is a healing technique, is a total energetic technique which you apply to people with your hands, but at the same time is not the same as pranotherapy. I think it's called in American pranotherapy, but it uses the same principle basically. Uh, you use your hands to put your some prana energy on people, and that helps them to to rebalance themselves, to rebalance any issue, any health issues they may have, or even just some psychological anxiety or depression or other transitory diseases also that you may have. So
Mhm.
after it was founded in the late 1800 by Uzui, the technique after his students reached the United States in the Hawaii before the World War II. And after a while, the teacher there started to teach Americans with this technique. So basically, he was spread out by Americans all over the world after the Second World War. And it
Hmm.
became quite big in Europe in the late 70s, early 80s of the last century, of course. So I trained myself as a practitioner. There are kind of different levels that you can use and amplify your technique. So my husband, he's a teacher now. So he basically
Huh?
teaches other people how to use the technique while I'm only a practitioner. And you can use distance Reiki as well. So even if the patient is not there in your room, you can do some mental connection with him, with your client, and you can apply this technique. It's quite known all over the world now. Basically, I think it's one of the most known energetic techniques that it's out there. It's really proven to be effective. There are a lot of scientific studies that really prove that can really prove that it's a very effective technique that really works. So I suggest all the listeners here to maybe have themselves a treatment and they can judge by themselves if it works or not.
Yes, I highly advocate for that as well, because I think that one of the problems we're having in the United States right now, and I was thinking
Mhm.
about the Asian Art Museum right down in the Smithsonian, is
Oh, wow.
called the Arthur M. Sackler Gallery. And I don't know if you know about the Sackler family, but they
No.
were responsible for OxyContin, the what is it called? Synthetic, um, what are those opioid drugs
Oh, right.
cause such trauma to the
Oh,
culture in general with addiction. And it's really interesting that our Asian art museum, where we have these beautiful, you know, settings, including a room that's set up to be a Tibetan meditation room, and there's
wow.
like the chanting of the monks, you know. And
Cool.
it's very interesting that that has that name on it as well. They're sort of downplaying it now because the Sacklers got sued for billions of dollars for the impact of this
Oh,
synthetic
wow.
opioids and the way they were marketed to the public. But in America, we tend to run or have tended to run not so much to traditional medicines or energy healing or any of these things or
Mm,
many of the different techniques we've been talking about. And I think music in general is just incredibly therapeutic. It got me through the pandemic. Uh,
mm.
anyhow, we have been running to big pharma and we have terrible
Oh, yes.
problems in our healthcare system because
Yes.
it's based on profit. The health
Yeah.
insurance, that if you don't have insurance, the costs are astronomical for getting treated. And there are ways of treating people that we need to embrace, I think, and try to become healthier. Diet, exercise, those things.
Oh,
Taking
yeah.
care of sort of our health and our body, the physical plant, the animal that carries me around, I like to say. Because I think of myself as a little imp that inhabits this animal that goes from dawn to dusk and back again. I don't know if you've, I do this thing on Substack, and I don't think you're on Substack yet, but
No.
I highly recommend it. It's a great platform. It's not got advertising on it like so many do. It's more or less an economic engine for culture, is the way it styles itself.
No.
Well, it started out as sort of a newsletter platform, but it's got other techniques. And one of them is I can go live, just go live on my phone, walk down the street, film the passing show, as I call it. Because talk about non existence, eventually we're all heading to the exits. And I think
Oh,
about that. I think about how unaware we are a lot of the time, how unconscious we are a lot of the
oh,
time.
yeah. Mm, mm, mm,
And
mm.
there's so many things going on, my digestion, things that are being taken care of for me that I don't have to think about. Bipedal gait, just being able to walk, keep balance,
Mm.
not fall down. I mean, that's
Oh,
going
yeah.
to be really important at my age. I've taken a few spills and luckily I've bounced, but it only takes one. Actually, I don't know if you can see my hand there,
Oh, yeah. There's some scars over there, right?
right in here. I,
Yeah.
I impaled my hand on a low decorative fence that had these pieces of iron sticking
Oh,
up,
God.
went right
Oh,
through my.
that's,
I pulled it up and off right away, and then it's like
oh,
made a mistake. A neighbor was passing by, ripped up a sock for a tourniquet, and took me and got an ambulance. And I ended up getting stitched up. I was not very far from the house, and I was trying to raise my wife to let her know what was happening, but she was on a call for work, and it was kind of.
oh, God.
I just think it's kind of funny. I watch my step. I've got one stigmata now. I need to get the other ones. but
You
anyway,
know what? I think it's when we are not really aware of what we are doing that this kind
good.
of things happen.
Unconscious. I wasn't even on my phone or anything. I was, as I often am. I was walking with my first coffee of the pandemic. I ordered a Starbucks, my first one since the pandemic
Mm.
started,
Oh, wow.
June of 2020, June 20th to be precise.
Right.
It'll date. Remember, I'll remember that always. That I need to watch my step, be where my feet are. Simple rules like that.
Yeah, simple rules, which, like you were saying, that they are not so easy to follow. You know, Thich Nhat Hanh, you probably heard about
Oh,
it.
yeah,
I
sure.
think he spread a lot of his
Teacher,
work as
my
well.
teacher.
Yeah. So, like being the present moment, here and now. This is
Yeah,
the basic rule, which apparently is so hard to follow, right? So
presence. Right.
because our mind is always somewhere else, back in time, forward, back, not here and now, which is the thing we were built for, right? So this is why I like sound bathing because people usually are attracted by the sound so powerfully that they tend to lose awareness of space and time. Most of the people just report me, oh my God, it was like I was living in another world, but at the same time, my body was sinking into the ground, so I could feel my body that was there, right there. But my mind was out of space, but at the same time, I was right here, right there, right in that same moment. So is these are the things that I really like and that motivate me. Like you were saying, what sparks light for you during the day, and
Yes.
what keeps you going, right? And what keeps me going is find out more ways and to be more present, to be more aware of things, to know universal laws, which are so many, and we don't know anything about. And they drive our lives, and we don't know anything about it, right? So it's like we are silly 2 years old people that try to desperately trying to understand what's happening to their lives, but there are some basic rules that we need to reconnect to and we need to remember, which these rules are inside of us, but it seems like our personality just covered all our knowledge, deep knowledge of our soul is totally covered up and we don't understand what's going on. So we need to reconnect and to remember what's really in our heart hidden somewhere, but there is a chance to do it. So this would motivate me to find out more and to know more and to experiment all the techniques that can help people reconnect to themselves.
And that's probably what attracted me to want to stay in touch and follow your work over these many decades.
Hmm.
It is about harrowing, the soul and raking it up, so to speak, so we can find that within us and tear away some of that surface effect. Take off the mask and
Right.
let each other know who we really are. You may be familiar already with Alan Watts's work. I happen to have handy here, as I'm always surrounded in books. The book, you know this one? Or,
What's no on the taboo against knowing who you are? No, I don't know this book, but I would write it down.
well, it might be worth it. It's not very big. Alan Watts books are pretty accessible. You know Alan Watts, though, right?
No.
I need to give you background on Alan Watts too. He died at about the age of 58 in California, but he was a Episcopal, or actually Anglican priest initially,
Okay.
and he was largely responsible for the coming of Zen to the Western world. During the 1950s, in particular, is active, and into the 70s. There are a lot of recordings of him out on YouTube as well. He's got a nice voice, being an Englishman, and so I enjoyed getting to know him. On the turn of the half century, 1950, he was having the celebration or whatever dinner with Joseph Campbell and his wife. And you know who Joseph Campbell is, probably,
Mm.
about the hero
Hmm.
journey and all of that. So I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall at that one. can't go back in time though. But you
No,
were
no.
talking about how it takes us out of our where we are, out of the present moment. Our minds tend to just fly back and forth. You
Oh,
mentioned
yeah.
about Han. Immediately, I went to, oh, my teacher's teacher, because Wavy Gravy follows him. Have you ever heard of Wavy? You might get some gravy in your eyes if I can find the book, but I might not be able to find it quickly. The guy wrote a book called Something Good for a Change, and he's a counterculture clown. He calls himself an intuitive clown. And he started out as a beat poet of sorts and working with Martha Graham before she moved to Greenwich Village, and he followed her there. He had a roommate in the early 60s, Bob Dylan. So he's been in all of these situations. And in 1970, he was at the Texas Pop Festival, and BB King was coming onto stage, and Wavy was exhausted from trying to get the hippies to put their clothes back on. And he was laying on the stage, and BB King walked by and said, "You Wavy Gravy?" And he said, "Yes, sir." And he realized it's a great clown name. He also
Oh,
realized that all the protests he was going to, where the cops would beat him up, when he was dressed as a clown, they didn't want to beat him up. So
oh,
clowns were safe.
amazing.
He has a whole litany of credits to his name in many ways for inspiring others to good acts. And he still runs or still lives on the hog farm, which is a commune that's been going since those days. It's like one of the longest running, if not the longest running commune. And I was
Wow.
attracted to these things in the mid part of the teens here. And about 2016, I went to the East Coast edition of his birthday party where they were doing a screening of his life, a film about his life. And I'm going to have the director of that film come on here sometime. Her name is Michelle,
Cool.
and I've got her manager coming on soon, actually, as well. I do have him lined up for next week, I think the 30th. And that'll be interesting because he used to manage Aerosmith. Can you imagine?
Wow. Cool.
So yeah, it should be interesting. So
Wow.
I'm getting some interesting people to come on Harrowings and talk to me. And like they don't really have a whole lot of theme to them, but something like what you were just talking about, the idea of
Oh,
being present, of being aware, being thinking about what we're doing, being where our feet are, um, simple rules for complex performance with high quality. That's what I was trained on in fifing and drumming. And that kind of music was designed, and we were in colonial costume, right? We were depicting a 1778
yeah.
field music. It was designed to transport people in time, to actually get you to feel like you were in the 18th century. And
That's cool.
it's pretty effective.
I
The
bet.
whole town, was restored to its 18th century appearance by J.D. Rockefeller Jr. in the 1920s and 30s. It's coming up its 100th anniversary as a living history museum. And that's where my father did his work, and trying to keep the dead alive, so to speak. He considered himself a historian of the inarticulate. So as you're learning these traditions, you're helping to keep all those who have brought those traditions down through the years to us. And I think that's a worthy cause. I want to make sure that people know about your work, and I do what I can to amplify that signal with my clicks of the button.
Hmm.
Hope that everyone will click a button as well here when I put this up on Substack and subscribe or like it. And I find it kind of revolting to have to promote my own work, but I
Wow.
you have to do a lot of promotion as
Oh,
well.
yes,
The flow of people coming into your sound baths. How do you
exactly.
manage that? How does that work? What's the business like? I'm just curious.
Yeah, well, when I do events with the Reiki school, I have more audience. I have a bigger audience to refer to because the school is quite big. They have a lot of cities they cover up with their courses. So they have a kind of large database with people that can be aware of what I'm doing, which is nice. But the social media is so tricky nowadays, you know, right? So you can advert and promote whatever you want, but maybe just 2 clicks or 2 likes or whatever. So I'm kind of, because I used to work in direct marketing, on digital direct marketing, so I'm training myself also how to exploit better those channels. But like you say, it's kind of like a second job. It's like you need to focus on your first job, and then the second job is promote yourself, which is all the artists have to do that at a certain point, unless they have a manager and unless they pay somebody else to do it for them, right?
Yes.
So this is how it works. So if you want to bring your message, it's kind of like you need to compromise a little bit, and I kind of like to know the rules of the game, which I don't like sometimes when I want to be pure in the way I act or in the way, I move myself around. But then at the end of the day, if you want to be heard, you need to adjust yourself to the rules. I don't know how to say it, but
I like how you're saying it, and I really detest the rules. I
you're an
feel rules are meant to
Aquarius,
be
right?
broken.
You're an Aquarius, if I remember well, huh?
Yes,
And
yes. I didn't.
Aquarius are rebels.
And it's very hard to tell us anything, right? We're not likely to listen. I'm like,
I know.
yeah, Sound waves bouncing off my eardrums.
You want to do it your own way.
It's difficult, and it's because I know that I'm my own worst enemy when it comes down to marketing myself, for instance.
Mm.
Or and your marketing of Miss O looked like it was, I loved the production. It was very well done, and it deserved, it seemed to me, to be much more widely known than it was.
Oh, thank you so much.
Because one thing, it was very psychological as well. Um, it really spoke to the psyche. I'm thinking now of Demons in particular, which has a whole storyline behind it. You want to tell a little bit about that? What was in your mind when you made that?
Yeah, Demons was one of the tracks that I recorded with my Belgian friend Jan de Blok for the Miso project. I think it was released about 8 years ago nowadays.
Yeah,
And it focused on mental illness.
right.
So also the video was kind of disturbing in some scenes because they had like dead dolls in a jar, something like horror movie, but not quite, just to let you understand what the psyche of some mental disturbed person would see things. So
Yes,
it's
yes.
like every one of us has demons inside, but we hardly want to face them. But some other people that have demons and they show them off, you would, start pointing the fingers and say, "Oh my God, that guy is loony, crazy, whatever."
Mhm.
But there's some craziness inside of us too, if we pay attention. So at the same time that, that song and that video was meant to talk about how little crazy can we can be or obsessed even in love relationships. Sometimes we're totally functional and normal in some areas of our life, but then some emotional tricks lighten something inside of us and we totally lose our mind, right? So this is what was the song about.
And it was well done, I thought. Particularly the moment of, like, I think you were slapping a little doll.
Yes, I remember that.
That motion there just reminded me so much of, the kinds of things that people go through at the hands of their parents.
Oh yeah.
And, the fact that most of us have deep laid trauma. I mentioned the film about Wavy Gravy and the director. I was trying to get her on here, and probably early in the year, I hope to be able to do that. She
Oh,
called
nice.
from Columbus Circle in New York at a Christmas
Okay.
market the other day, and told me she thought of me as one of her best friends. And I was like, "Oh, that's very sweet," or a very good friend or something. And Michelle did another film. I went up to her during the screening when I met Wavy at this East Coast edition of his birthday party that I mentioned in Philadelphia. It was. And after the screening, the panel was upstairs of Wavy, his wife, his son, and Michelle, the director. And I went up to her and asked her what was next. And like with you, when I found out about Mandala Voices, Dance and Sing Together was the thing I
Oh,
threw
yes.
a little money at. Um,
Oh, yeah.
I asked her what she was doing next and how I could help. And she told me she was working on a film about the life of Daryl Hammond, who was a Saturday Night Live performer. I don't know if you know Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, I know the show, but we didn't broadcast it here. So,
Yeah, well, in any case, he was used to do Bill Clinton impersonations and Sean Connery on Jeopardy. Sean, I won't even go into that. It's kind of off color, but it was hysterical. Will Ferrell would play Alex Trebek of Jeopardy, and it had Sean Connery as Daryl Hammond as playing him. Was always getting into some conflict by reading the clues wrong, and hysterical, very off color. And during the time, Daryl was like cutting himself behind the scenes, and had this deep trauma he was working through. And eventually he went to some doctors who told him, "You're not crazy. What you got is not, I don't want you to call it a mental illness. I want you to call it a mental injury. You're this way because something happened to you." It turns out his mother tortured him,
oh,
and he was suffering from post-traumatic stress around that. And they did a film about it. It's just beautiful, called Cracked Up, the Daryl Hammond movie. and it's called uh, the site is crappedupmovie.com for anybody that wants to look it up. And there are tons of resources out there. Not only did they make the film, but 2019, when I came back from another edition of Wavy Gravy's birthday in Philadelphia, the very next day I found out that Michelle was doing a screening of this new film downtown at the Center for Adult, no, Center for Child Advocacy of America. That was a organization was having their national conference, and a big part of it was her screening this film about child abuse and the sequelae as and healing from it, which is what the film centers on. And while they were there, they were also going to Congress, and they got trauma-informed care written into legislation for people who were getting services from the government for recovery. And I think that was a huge gift to the world. So I try to amplify that signal through the notice as best I can. And I continue to support that. She's doing new film on relationships. And I think that that's an interesting area to cover maybe another time, because I'm running up on an hour,
Yeah.
and I don't
Yeah.
want, I want to be respectful of your time. And I think an hour is a good length for these things, but maybe we can talk about that and the healing that goes on through your work now, and to the extent that you're able to talk about how those people who are benefiting from it are being transformed through the experience. I think that might make a nice topic if you have
Oh, that's,
or something.
yeah, that would be very nice
And
to
get a little
talk.
more focus, because I know that I tend to jump from one thing to another pretty quickly.
Well,
But
many things, so you connect them all together. It's nice. It's a
it's
nice,
called synthesizing, yeah. And
nice.
the improvisational music you mentioned too that Mandala Voices was doing, is that
Hmm.
still going on at some level, or
Not really,
events
but at the
like that?
same time, what happens through my sound bass is that I improvise my singing according to what I feel in that moment from the group. And
Okay,
sometimes,
come through you.
sometimes I go to each person and my singing changes. And I don't know why, but it does. Because apparently there's some singing that you need to hear, and I let myself be channeled through whatever it is, and I sing different tunes to everyone. And they sometimes they report to me, that singing that you did to me was healing, and something I felt something that changed inside of me. And this is the power of sound, which and the singing is everyone can sing, everyone can use their voice.
After
Just
my father died, I engaged a singing coach and
Oh,
decided to work through with her some of my grief. Really, we started with King
oh yeah.
Epitaph. I don't know if you
Mm,
know Epitaph by King
mm.
Crimson from their first album. Um,
Oh wow. Mm.
it's pretty intense. And then I turned her on to some other things. She has a band called Walking in the Air, and King Crimson had a song called Walking on Air.
Wow.
Like very much. And so I turned her on to that and some other things. And she recently did a benefit over at the 8x10 in Baltimore for a saxophone player, and who's gotten some health issues. But it's lovely that musicians can support each other that way. She was doing Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon, and
My God.
great gig in the sky is a little challenging.
Wow.
I got to get a clip of that somewhere. Somebody must
Wow.
have recorded it. Any case, the other thing I wanted to mention was another thing about improvisational music. I've come into contact via all of these different connections through going to the Wavy Gravy thing, etc., with Matt Butler, who leads something called the Everyone Orchestra. He's been doing it for about as long as I've known you, about 20 years plus. And
Hmm.
he's also traveling to Europe a fair amount, and also South America with the groups. He's had some health issues lately, but I think he's coming through them. So maybe he'll be doing that again. But Everyone Orchestra basically takes these jam band musicians, if you know the genre, and he gets them together, and he gets himself in a you know psychedelic sort of frock coat, top hat, and conducts them. He'll just hold up a whiteboard that says D, and they start jamming in D.
Oh,
And they
okay.
create on stage a unique piece performance and piece of
Wow.
music. And I watched them do that on the 10th anniversary of the Ardmore Music Hall, where I first caught this wavy gravy stuff. Not It's 2023, I guess it was. And
Nice.
so I might share a recording of that with you sometime. One of the keyboardists in that, Holly Bowling, likes to went out during the pandemic, and with her husband having a Sprinter van and solar powered with her dog, they set up in different national parks and
Oh,
just
look at
played.
that.
So there's Holly there. There she is in another spot.
Oh, I
Canyon.
love the Badlands. I was there last June.
Yeah, I remember you traveled through the states, so you know
Oh,
a lot of the
yeah.
places that I'm showing. Um, in Taos, New Mexico, they played at
I want to
Moonlight
go
or
to
something.
Taos.
Yeah,
Oh,
Bruno Canyon in Idaho. She was up on the edge of the canyon.
I love these
And
postcards.
this one I think is fantastic. It's a little torn there on the front, but she was out on the Utah Salt Flats.
Oh my goodness, look at that.
And
Beautiful.
you see the dog in the foreground there.
Yeah.
You know, she had a campaign where if you gave, like, I forget what it was, maybe $50 to, you got a double album of this on vinyl, and she'd give Juno a biscuit on Instagram for you.
I will check her out.
Yeah, Holly Bowling. She puts all of the instruments of the Grateful Dead and Fish through her 10 fingers on the grand piano. And she's classically trained, so she's impressive. The one that I think is really good, I don't know if I have the postcard for it or not here, was Casco Bay. And I think it's particularly good because she gives me a shout out at the end for kickstarting her album
Oh,
called Seeking All That's Still Unsung, which is a line out of the Grateful Dead, Seeking All That's Still Unsung, because she's not singing, she's just playing the piano. Anyhow, thank you so much for your time. I think I may have run a little over the hour. It's been
oh,
a
don't
joy to
worry.
talk to you in person at
I
last.
know. I'm so happy to have done that. Really. Thank you so much to give me this opportunity. And right before Christmas, you found some time for me. So
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you so
And thank
much.
you for sharing your time. It's most
And
generous.
Merry Christmas to everyone then.